have
Morals.
morality without God?
Why is a God required?
Well, if you look at it, the reason why is because without an objective standard of good, if you look into atheism, that just leads to modal collapse because it's necessarily true that all subjective morality is morally good if you don't have objective standard of good. If person A
But
says
do you believe that
behavior A,
everything God says is good?
yeah, he has the objective will of the universe.
Then we have
Your
modal
will,
collapse because
your,
God
your,
could literally
your,
command anything and it would always be good. So there's no
no,
standard there either.
but yes, it is because your will is subjective. Your will is subjective and dependent upon your only has an influence in your sphere. So what you are doing, what you are doing, you're saying you as atheism is basically lawlessness because you're saying that no matter whose behavior, if a rapist says I grape women and this and that's my subjective morality, I grape women, uh, and you have to say
I can
he,
say that
he
they're
has a
wrong. Yeah, I can
he
do
has a
that.
no, you can't say it.
Yes, I can. I believe that it's wrong. I have
But
that belief.
but I'm gonna tell
Maybe I
you.
can't. What you're confusing, and people do this. You're
Mhm,
confusing the fact that, and I wouldn't even call it a fact, but the
mhm,
proposition that perhaps I wouldn't be able to convince that person that they are wrong, that what
mhm,
they're saying isn't good,
mhm.
but I still believe it's good. So yes, I can say that it's wrong. In
And he
fact, I'm going to
believes,
do it right now. It's wrong.
uh
Here's what
and
you
he,
can't do.
and this is what I'm.
If God said to do that, you would
Mhm.
say that it's not wrong.
Listen,
I
let
would
me
say
finish
that
my
it
point.
is wrong. So the only
It's
person here that could
it,
ever be in favor of raping women is
mhm.
you.
At the end of the day, if the rapist says it's right and you say it's wrong, both of your positions are morally
Okay,
good
ready?
within
Ready?
atheism.
I
But you
ready,
have
ready,
no.
ready, ready. The grapist said God told me to do it. Now tell me whether it was right or wrong.
No, because that's not the case.
Angel,
That's not
the
the case.
grapist says God told me to do it. Now tell me whether or not it's right or wrong.
But that's
But
impossible because we have
just answer the question, please.
no because it's not what God
No,
told him to do. It's not what God told him to do.
you
Listen,
don't know that.
I do. We have an objective standard of good spoken through the words of Jesus
So rape
Christ.
is defined as
Look,
being
let me
not
tell
good.
you why.
Therefore, we don't
Let me
need
tell
God
you
to know
why.
that it's wrong.
Let me tell you why I can say the grape
Angel,
is
you
wrong.
didn't hear what I said.
Can I
So
please tell you
even
why?
so, God could not possibly have done that because God is
Mm-hmm.
bound by these moral rules or moral
I'm gonna
laws or
tell you
whatever.
why.
Sexual
I'm gonna
assault
explain.
is defined as
I'm
being wrong, so God
I'm gonna
couldn't
explain to you
command
why.
it. We don't require God to know it
Okay.
then.
I'm going to explain to you why. Because God's will, God has the objective will of the universe. His will was spoken through Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I command you to love one another. Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Great.
Jesus said, hold up. Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Great.
Jesus taught us, Jesus is our objective standard of
Okay, what if
morality
Jesus
because he
said
spoke
to
of God's
rape
will.
somebody?
But that's ridiculous because we already have his word. So you as an
So we should
atheist,
only do the things
you
that Jesus
you
said.
you
Should we
these are
ban
listen.
Congress members from trading stocks? Jesus
Why?
didn't say whether or not
Because
we should do
Jesus
that.
is the objective standard
Oh,
of good.
you're just such a
His will
bloviating.
is.
There's no point in having conversations with you sometimes. It's so
But
frustrating.
I'm asking you to ask me the question. If atheists, if all morality is good, how can atheists be
I never
moral?
said all morality is good.
It has to be within atheism, though. Do you
No, it
know how
doesn't.
morality? Hold up. Do you
Angel,
know
I
how morality?
literally
Hold up.
believe that things like sexual assault are
Look,
wrong. So
do you
obviously
know
I'm
how? Hold
capable
up.
of believing that.
Do you know how morality is defined? Define morality for me.
Morality is like the idea of like actions we should or should not do.
No, no, it's not. Let me read the definition from straight from the dictionary.
Okay.
And the principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong and good and bad behavior.
Yeah, so
As an
what we should
atheist,
and should not do.
as an
The fu-
atheist, as an atheist,
That's what I
anybody's
said.
distinction between right and wrong is right. So you have modal collapse. If a person says, "I great women," and that's right,
If a
and
person
you
says
say it's
God told me
wrong,
to do it,
you're
then
both
according to
more
you,
than
they
just
are right.
stance. Atheism is illogical because it leads to modal collapse. Because it's just
That's
everyone's
assuming that moral facts are real.
listen. You don't have no objective standard of good, so everybody's
Yeah,
morality
well,
is
that
equally
is
good.
okay. Angel, let's do a quick timeout here because there's actually an important question that I want to ask you. Do you
Okay.
believe you can derive an ought from an is?
A what?
Do you believe you can derive an ought from an is?
Explain what you're saying.
You don't know about this? This is like a fundamental thing in
No,
philosophy.
explain what you're saying.
Can you say what the way things are determines what we should do?
The way thing. Oh, if you're an atheist, yes. If you're an atheist, you're a soulless animal with no moral law. So you don't have any moral law.
You're not
So
even trying to answer the question.
I just answered you. Within the context of atheism, yes, because you're a soulless animal with no moral law. So if you want to great women or you want to sex traffic
Well, I
women,
don't.
and that's your morality, then yes, that's perfectly fine. It's morally good to an atheist. How can it not be morally good
God,
to an atheist?
God commanded Moses to capture little girls and keep them as spoils of war for themselves. So was that wrong?
Nothing God does is wrong. He
There,
has
so
to
you don't believe that even the
listen.
sexual assault of
Listen,
children
Jacob,
is wrong. You
listen.
don't believe
No,
that sexually assaulting children is
I'm
wrong.
I'm I'm
Raping
explain this
children
to
is fine if God says so. Angel
I,
2024.
I'm gonna explain this to you again, like I'm in third grade class. Everything God's will is good. God's divine will was working through subjective human morality that led to the death and birth and resurrection of Jesus Christ. All our commandments come from Jesus Christ, who says to
Interesting.
love one another, who says bless those who persecute you. All our objective morality comes from the words of Jesus Christ. Your subjective morality comes from your limited mind. You think your mind is superior to God. So any atheist, when you can't have any distinction when every distinction between right and wrong is equally good and equally right, you have modal collapse. So atheism is illogical by definition. Without God, God is a necessity. Because without God, all you have is modal collapse because
Says who?
everybody's position is good.
Okay.
You haven't once said.
Okay, person A
You haven't
says,
once
God,
said.
Angel, stop. Person A says, God told me to kill that guy. Person B, oh, God told me not to do that. Who's correct?
Listen,
So you're not even going to try to answer the question.
I
Okay,
am going to
that's
answer
fine.
because you keep dodging though. Because you can't answer within the context of atheism. I can answer that question.
You think that you've discovered some grand problem that atheism has, but
I can answer that
you
question.
have the same problems or
No,
worse
I don't.
problems.
Because if it's not in
You
line
literally said it's fine that the
if it's
Israelites raped
if it's
children.
not in line
So
with
you
the
have
words,
serious
listen,
problems, Angel.
if it's not in line with the words
Angel,
of Christ,
you
then it's
refused
not.
to
No,
condemn the
if it's not,
capture and rape of
listen.
children. You have
Our
problems.
morality comes from the words of Jesus Christ, who said, "I command you to love one another." You
Yeah, and
cannot,
God
as an
commanded the
atheist,
Israelites to take little girls as
what you
spoils of
can't do,
war.
you can't defend atheism. I asked you in
Atheism
the
isn't a
context.
worldview.
You can't defend atheism tell me in the context of atheism. I'm asking you to
There's
talk
no
about
such thing as in the context of
talk about
atheism. This is a
talk about.
non-starter.
Yes, it is. Talk
Nope.
about it without God, morality without God. Talk about it for a second from that point of view. If you don't have any God and you have a sex trafficker that says, "I sex traffic women because what's morally good to me is taking care of my family. That's what's right to me." That's his distinction between right and wrong. and that his position has to be morally
Angel,
good.
tell me why sex trafficking is wrong.
Without his position has to be more. I just told you.
No, you didn't. Tell me why it's wrong.
I just told you. Because it's not in line with the words of Jesus Christ.
Says who?
Who says it's not in line with Jesus, who love one another.
When did he ever prohibit that?
You're not loving somebody by sex trafficking and put them out there on drugs. Jesus says love.
So what if God told somebody to do that?
But he's not, because it's not in line with the words of God.
Great. Apparently God is bound.
Atheism.
So you're just saying that it's wrong by...
questions.
Oh my God, it's so pointless talking to you. So, do you think you can derive an ought from an is?
Not in atheism.
Do you think you can?
Listen, you keep asking these silly questions, and I keep telling you, you would not answer the question.
Do you think you can derive an ought from an is? Don't deflect and talk about me. Just answer the question from your point of view. Can you derive an ought from an is?
From my point of view, I keep telling you this. From my point of view, it's not about my subjective morality. It's about the objective.
I didn't ask you that question.
About the words of God.
Can you derive an ought from an is?
No, not based on my subject, because my subjective morality is not the point. No.
Okay, so morals, by the definition of what morality is, it concerns the actions we should or should not take. So if you say God is the objective standard, that does not justify a reason for following those commandments, because you don't believe you can derive an ought from an is. So any kind of morality would be subjective.
No, it would not be, because God...
But you can't derive an ought from an is. So it doesn't matter. God is the standard. It doesn't matter. You can't derive an ought from an is.
Do you understand the difference between objective and subjective?
I think
What's the difference?
Objective means it's true in all cases, regardless of circumstance or personal opinion.
And what's subjective mean?
Just the opposite of that. Depends on the person. Depends on the circumstance. Depends on the situation.
Exactly. Look, so the objective standard...
Do you live under the same covenant that the Israelites do?
Let me ask you. No, we are seeds of the promise from Abraham. The Mosaic covenant is something different.
So now that the times have changed, the moral standards are different. Wow, you believe in subjective morality.
No.
Okay.
That's why Jesus is the only person.
You literally believe that morality changed when Jesus came. So there we go.
The only person
you have a new
to fulfill the promise of Abraham is Jesus. But what you can say, because if you look at what objective is, it explains it beautifully. Because if you look at this force is the speed of light. The speed of light is the objective speed of the universe.
That's great. When children are sexually assaulted, does it cause them harm? Yes. So it's objectively true.
It's subjective.
Yes. So we could ground it in that objective fact.
But as an atheist, you're a soulless animal with no moral law. So you cannot say any behavior is bad. None.
What makes God's law moral?
Because if somebody says that behavior is good, their position is just as moral as yours.
And if somebody says God told me to do X, Y, or Z, their position is just as good as yours.
No, because I have something that transcends subjective human morality. You don't. You said there isn't any objective standard of good. So everybody's is equally good, which leads to modal collapse. You're a soulless animal with no moral law because everybody's behavior is morally good.
I don't believe that.
And that's why atheism is an illogical position. You can't have morality without God.
Says who?
Every distinction between right and wrong is equally right. What is modal collapse? Let me ask you, what is modal collapse?
If God said, kill somebody, and then tomorrow God said, actually, don't kill that person. Was he wrong the first time?
That's not in line with the words of Christ.
There you go. So the God you believe in is just simply bound by morality. Whatever these moral facts are.
The words of God.
Oh, God, you're insufferable. Does God have reasons for why he commands things? Angel, answer the question or I'm getting rid of you because I don't care anymore. You don't have anything to offer me
You can't
except for
answer
some
the
content.
question. What is modal collapse? Define.
Does God have reasons for fucking goddamn it, I can't even think. Does God have
I know
reasons
I got you
for the
flustered
commandments
because you
that he
can't answer.
gives?
Peterson, I know I got you flustered, but try to answer your question. Ask your question. You, you, atheism leads to modal collapse. It's illogical. You can't have morality. It's impossible.
That's
Because
fine. I don't
everybody.
think you can either. So,
Do you
does
know
God
what
have
modal?
reasons for
No.
commanding what he does?
You have. You say that again. Ask the question.
Does God have reasons for giving us the commandments he gives us?
That was the Mosaic covenant between God and the Israelites.
Does God have reasons for giving commandments?
Yes, for the Israelites. Yes.
Great. So we can appeal to reason and cut out the middleman. God said, don't do blank. Well, apparently there's a reason why we shouldn't do blank. So let's just appeal to the reason. We don't need it to be divinely revealed to us. Or does an action magically become moral when God says it? I think that's actually what you believe, because you refuse to condemn the capture as sexual slaves of children by the Israelites on the grounds that God said do it. You said God never says anything that's bad. That's completely subjective.
No, it's not, because
Yes,
God
it
has
is.
to. Can I answer, please? I just sat listening to you. Can I please have my little minute without an interruption?
Because God is the moral
The reason-
standard. So now my question is going to
I
be,
please
says
ask?
who?
Peterson,
On what
I know
grounds?
you're
By what
flustered.
logic?
I know you're flustered. Can I please answer, though? I just sat and listened to you. Can you show me
I
the
know
same
what your
courtesy?
answer is, and I already gave my rebuttal.
Can I have the same courtesy? The fact of the matter is, God divine will was worked through the Israelites, which led to Jesus Christ. Through Jesus Christ, God gave us our objective morality, and through the words of Jesus Christ. So we look. Our objective morality transcends our subjective morality. With atheists, you're soulless animals with no moral law. So everybody's
You're not answering my
morality
question.
is equally good. I just answered your question.
What was my question,
Are
Angel?
you a soulless animal?
What was my
Am I
question?
lying? Do you think you're a soulless animal?
I'm not answering your question. What was my
Why?
question?
Why can't you be proud of being a? Where did I answer your question?
What was my question?
It was about morality.
You don't even know what my question was. No,
Yes, it
your
was about.
rambling answer was not an answer to my
It
question
was
at all.
it was a same question you've been asking about morality, whether if about God's rules and God's laws, which came. You don't understand the Bible when it talks about the difference between the Abrahamic promise and the Mosaic covenant. We're under the Mosaic covenant, which
I don't even remember what
tells
my
you
question was
in
at this
Luke.
point. Somebody's going to have to remind me. You've
You
derailed
don't
us
even
so badly. You did such a bad job
let,
of not answering the question that now I forgot the question.
Peterson, I know you flustered because you can't answer,
Stop
but
projecting.
if,
Look
if
at
I'm
this.
wrong, hold
All
up.
calm.
Do you think you're a soulless animal? That's all I'm asking. Do you
I
think
think you're a soulless animal, and I think you're a
hold up.
one-dimensional being that doesn't even
I'm
understand
just
time.
asking a question. Why can't atheists stand up for what they always say? You always say you have no soul. You say you're nothing but animals. So are you a soul?
So
Just
let's
own
do
up
it
to
like
it.
they do on the Discovery
Just
Channel.
just own up to it. You're a soulless animal. So how can a soulless animal have moral law when morality is described as the distinction between right and wrong? Therefore, everybody's distinction between right and wrong is morally good. There's no because you have no objective standard of morality, which leads you to modal collapse. Atheism is illogical. You have God's existence is necessary because then you have a contingent. God's will is a contingent. You have a contingent objective standard of good that transcends subjective morality. That's why Christians say they are born again,
What makes
and
God the
Christians say
objective standard?
because He has the objective will of the universe. I just told you about the objective
That's
standard of life.
not an answer. So what makes God the objective standard?
Because I just Can I done told you this several times, Peterson. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. The objective, what makes
Oh my
God the
God.
objective standard, I'm telling you, what makes God the objective standard
Oh,
is
your God.
God has the objective will of His will determines all things.
Says who?
Your subjective will
Says
only
who?
is only your influence on earth. Your little small,
That's
so it's
fine. You can
subjective.
believe that, but you don't magically have
Of
any.
course,
You don't
I
have a
believe that.
solution for any of this.
Of course, I believe that. What are you
Yeah,
talking?
I
Of
have
course,
no problem
I
with you
believe.
believing that. Whatever. So
I'm
God
not
is the
here to
objective
prove.
standard.
Look,
Says
I'm not
who?
going to try to prove that to you, but because you have your own beliefs. All I can do is plant seeds or water seeds. That's all you can do, and God gets the increase. So I'm not on here to
Oh my
prove
God.
something to you, but that's what I believe. And
Great.
Jesus and God is the objective standard of good because His will determines all. Your will could barely determine your own life.
Okay.
So
Tell me
that's why
what,
it's
Angel.
subjective.
You keep doing stream of consciousness rambling. Why is God the objective standard of good?
I'm gonna explain it.
Great. Okay. I
Can
think we
I
got
answer?
our. I think we know.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
answer?
Go ahead.
My goodness. Simply put, God is the objective standard of good. One, like I said, because He has the objective will of the universe. This is
Says
why.
who?
This is why. I mean, finish my answer. You ask me for an answer, then you interrupt me as soon as I start talking. That is
You've
why.
stated that multiple times, and then
Then
you go
I
on
was
these
about to.
tangents
I'm
that
about to
don't back
expound
up your
on it.
claim.
I'm about to expound on it. The reason we know this is because this is where Adam and Eve derived the knowledge of good and evil. While Adam was in the garden, he had the knowledge of good because he was under God's will. He was following God's commandments. When Adam acted outside of God's will, outside of God's commandments, he then had the knowledge of evil. That's how he got the knowledge of good and evil, which passed down through all people. God is the
They
objective
didn't
standard
know
of
the difference until they ate from the fruit of the
no,
tree of the knowledge of
Adam,
good and
no.
evil. They were naked and had no shame until after they ate the fruit. So what you just said is
So
completely I don't know what kind of Christian you are, but
listen,
that was some weird bullshit right there.
Peterson, Adam and Eve knew right from wrong. That's why God told them, commanded him not to do this, and said you're being punished because you didn't follow my commandments. They asked God, when the serpent came to him, God said, don't eat on this, for we'll surely die. They had to know what death was. How can they say they will surely die if they didn't know what death was? They knew the difference from right and wrong. The knowledge of good and evil is something metaphysical. It's something it's not the actualization of evil. It's the knowledge to act outside of God's will, which is evil, to act outside of God's commandments. That's because God's will is the objective standard of good. And when Adam was in the garden, he was under God's will. When he acted outside of God's commandments, he acted outside of God's will. Then he gained the knowledge of good and evil, and he can actualize evil
This is a
into the world.
fantastic non-answer to the question of who says that God's will is objectively moral or good or whatever.
I do. Me.
Great. So it's morality according to you.
It's moi. It's according to people who believe in God. To me.
Okay. Well,
people
let
who are
me
Christians.
just, Angel, I'm just going to invent a religion that says kill all Christians. And I have a God that tells me that. And my God is the objective moral standard. And you can't criticize it. You agree? Okay, fantastic.
No,
This shows us what postulating that an
I
infinite
don't
God
agree.
that always commands
Listen.
everything good by fiat
Because,
gets you.
no.
It gets you literally nothing. It gets you more subjective
it
morality.
It gives you an objective standard of good that you don't have because you're a soulless animal. Because you think
My religion that says kill all Christians gives me an
you
objective moral standard.
That's not a religion.
Yes, it is. I'm
This
just
is
going
a
to decide that it
hypothetical.
is.
It's just, I have 2.2 to 3 billion people, and
Wow,
all
an ad
historians
populum fallacy?
who
That's
back up
funny.
Christianity. No, it's not.
Okay. How many Christians were there a million years ago?
Look, listen, all
Angel,
historians
shut up. How many
support
Christians were there a
the
million
existence
years
of
ago?
Jesus. I have no idea.
Probably zero, right?
It doesn't matter.
It
It
does
does.
matter because even if there were zero Christians, would that mean that Christianity is false? No. So you playing the
No.
numbers game has no bearing on the truth of
Sure
something?
it does.
Correct.
Because,
And
no.
if morality comes from God, I now believe in a God that
Yes,
just,
it
I'll
does.
just define a
It,
God into
it has
existence
a
that
big
says
difference
commands
on it.
horrible things
No.
and you can't say anything about it.
It has a big difference on the thing because we see the good that God does. We see the transformation of people, and we see that God's promise in the Bible, His promise to Abraham that He would make His descendants like the sand of the sea, and that He would have descendants like stars in the sky. And it was based on the faith of Abraham that was credited as righteousness. And Luke tells us that Jesus came to fulfill the oath made to Abraham. So we are the
Okay,
children
I'm
of
not trying to
God
be rude, but I really
through
want you to stop
Abraham.
preaching.
I'm not preaching. I'm just trying to explain to you what
you're,
your carnal
you're
mind don't
quoting the
understand.
fucking Bible and you're
But your
not
carnal mind,
preaching.
listen, you don't understand it because you have a carnal mind. But I'm
So do
just trying to
you.
explain to you what you don't
So do
understand.
you.
You have a carnal, what
So
you
do
don't
you.
understand.
So do
So at
you.
the end of the day, we have it goes to the point that you can't refute that without God, there's no such thing as morality because all you have is lawlessness and everybody's behavior is equally morally good because we are nothing but soulless animals who have no moral law, who can't even love your own children
Angel.
because
Angel.
you
Can
just
God
don't.
do
It's
can
just,
God do anything?
it's just yeah, it's God's will.
Can God command an immoral act?
Can God do what?
Can God command an immoral act?
You keep going trying to ask the same question in a different way. Everything, I'm telling you, from the rooter to the
Just
tutor,
say yes
from
or no.
Genesis to Revelation,
Just say
God,
yes or no.
anything that
Can
God
God
created
command an
within God's
immoral
will,
act?
God works His divine will through subjective human morality. So, His
Can
divine.
God command an immoral act?
No, everything is
Then
within God's
anything is
divine will.
permissible.
Listen, because God has the objective will of the Peterson. Do you understand that you're a limited being and your morality, you can't even barely control your own life. Your morality only goes through your little sphere of influence on this
God,
planet.
Moses literally convinced God
Listen,
to, Angel, God is capricious. I don't know if
yo,
you've read the Bible, but
I mean, it's
Moses
crazy.
multiple times convinces God,
This,
actually, how about don't kill 50,000 of my
this is
people
the
that are
problem
wandering through the
this is the
desert
problem with a
because
carnal mind.
they stopped licking your boot, right?
This is the problem.
God demanded that they rim him
Here we go.
constantly, and when they stopped
Because we
rimming
can't
him
debate the
and
issue.
built golden statues, God said, "That's it. I'm gonna fucking kill tens of
Yeah,
thousands of you." And Moses said, "Can you please not do that?" And God changed his mind. He's
Hey,
capricious. Okay, so everything you just said is completely
listen,
false.
Peterson, you falling right back to the same atheist talking about because you can't debate. At the end of the day, what the carnal mind like you can't accept is that
Ad hom.
your knowledge, your subjective will is limited to this earth. God has an objective will to all things you don't understand. You don't even know what 95% of the universe is.
Neither do
You can't
you.
even know what's going to happen to you tomorrow.
Neither
You
do
don't
you.
know anything.
Neither do
And you
you.
trying to compare your mind to God, your
Neither do
will to
you.
God. Think how
Angel,
ridiculous you sound.
you don't have special powers that I don't
You,
have,
you,
which
you
means
sound
you can't.
absolutely. You trying to compare your subject.
Okay, I'm muting you now, Angel. So you have the same limitations I do, which means you can't justify your beliefs because you don't have any special abilities. You
Listen,
can claim these things, but you can't
yes,
justify them.
I can claim anything because I have a personal relationship with God. Don't you have
Okay,
personal
I have a
relationship?
personal relationship with Spanky,
Do
and
you have
Spanky's the
personal
one true
relation?
God, and
Listen,
he said, "You're a
do
bitch."
you have personal relationships in your life?
No, but you're a bitch because
No, you
Spanky
don't.
told me you are, and he's the objective truth.
See, this is the problem with atheism. It goes to what Erwin Schrodinger
I'm
said.
not an
The,
atheist.
pro-
I believe
the,
in the
pro-
one true God, and he
the
said, "You're a
problem with
bitch."
atheism is that you try to remove
Angel,
experience.
the objective God said, "You're a bitch. Prove me wrong." I believe in an objective moral God. It's right here, and it says you're a bitch. Prove me wrong.
You're a soulless animal with no moral law,
Yeah, and you're a
and you
bitch.
stand it. You can't stand a soulless animal with no moral law that can't even love anyone because your love is no different than
Sounds like a bitch to me.
your love is no different than sparks on a battery. You
Yeah.
think
That's what a bitch
you
would
can't
say.
even love nobody.
Yeah, and you're a
So how
bitch.
can atheists have moral law? You can't be moral.
How can you not be a bitch when you're such
You
a
can't.
bitch?
Look, Peterson. I know why you don't get upset, Peterson. You're the one that
Who's
claim you're a
upset?
soulless animal. I'm just saying. I'm just putting back to you what you claim you are. Every
And
time I
I'm
talk
just
to
putting
you,
back to you
hold up.
your belief system. I
Every time I
believe
talk
in
to
an
you,
objective standard, a
listen.
God, a creator being who has
Every
revealed
time I
himself
talk
to
to
me
you,
in this form, and he said, "You're a
every
bitch."
okay. Every time I talk to you, Peterson, you say evolution is true and we're just
You
animals.
believe in
We have no
evolution.
soul and spirit. So you're a soulless animal. And you haven't explained to me how a soulless animal can be a moral agent and have if every soulless
You can't,
animal
according to people named
if
Angel, you
every
can't
subject
derive an ought from an is. So you can't justify your morals either.
Hey, listen, of course I can, because my morals don't come from me. They transcend my subjective
Then you
human morality.
believe in a contradiction. And if you
They,
believe in a
they trans-
contradiction, then there's no
your
point in talking
morality,
to you.
atheism morality leads to modal collapse because no matter what your behavior is, your distinctions between right and wrong is equally moral, and that's because you're soulless animals. Why wouldn't it be equally moral? Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't one soulless animal morality be just as good as another soulless animal?
What would make
You have no
one God's
objective standard of
morality
good.
any better than another God's morality?
So it leads to modal collapse.
Angel, what makes one? I'm just going to invent a new God that says kill all puppies. What makes your God better than my God?
What makes
That's what I thought. Goodbye,
no?
Angel.